The autumn chill seeped through the cracks in Mom's old Victorian house in rural Pennsylvania. Carrying the faint scent of apple cider she'd always simmered on the stove during harvest season. It had been just 10 days since her funeral, and the living room still echoed with the ghost of her laughter. The kind that crinkled her eyes and warmed even the coldest arguments. I perched on the worn armchair in the corner, my fingers twisting the hem of my sweater, watching my siblings pace like wolves around a fresh kill. The family portraits on the mantel stared down, holidays in the Poconos, graduations where we'd faked smiles for the camera, moments that masked the fractures we'd ignored for years. Sarah, my oldest sister, claimed the head of the table like it was her throne, her lawyer's briefcase propped beside her as if this were a boardroom negotiation. "Time's wasting," she snapped, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife through butter. "The executor will be here soon. Let's not drag this out." Ben crossed his arms, leaning against the fireplace, his smirk barely hidden. Daria dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, her sobs intermittent, more theatrical than heartfelt. I drew a breath, keeping my tone even. "This isn't a race, Sarah. It's about honoring what Mom wanted." Her glare pierced me. "Save the sentiment. Emily, you've always been the little princess, shielded from the real work. You don't call the shots here." The words landed like a familiar slap, echoing the role I'd been assigned since childhood, the youngest, the afterthought, the one who didn't quite measure up. Today, with grief still raw, it stung deeper. The antique safe loomed in the shadows of the den, a relic from Grandpa's days, its brass handles tarnished but sturdy. Mom had guarded it like a sentinel, whispering once that it held more than valuables. It cradled her truths, her final wishes for us. My throat tightened as I glanced at it, feeling the undercurrent of avarice poisoning the air. Whatever fragile ties bound us as siblings, they were unraveling thread by thread. The door swung open, and the executor arrived, a stooped man in his 60s, with wire-rimmed glasses and a satchel full of documents that smelled of ink and finality. He nodded politely, but his gaze lingered on me, a subtle crease of concern etching his brow. "Ready to proceed?" he asked, setting up at the table. "About time," Sarah huffed, motioning to the safe. "Open it up." I shifted, only to feel Ben nudge my chair back a fraction, distancing me from the circle. I bit my tongue, filing the slide away, a quiet fuel for the fire building inside. The executor knelt, keys jingling as he worked the lock. Each click amplified the silence, my heart pounding in rhythm. My siblings leaned in, eyes hungry. I thought of Mom's frail hands, how she dialed that combination in secret, protecting something until her last breath. The door groaned open, revealing crisp folders and a sealed envelope atop them all. Mom's elegant script scrawled across it. The executor's hand paused, his face paling as he pulled out not one, but 2 sets of papers. The room froze. He cleared his throat, voice low. "There's the formal will. And this." A handwritten addendum, dated recently. Chaos erupted, questions flying like shrapnel, but I sat stunned, pulse roaring. 2 wills. Mom had left a hidden layer. Sarah's eyes locked on mine, her lips curling. "You always played the favorite," she whispered venomously. "Let's see if she actually gave you scraps." Ben snorted, Daria offering a pitying glance that burned like acid. I held my composure, rage simmering beneath the surface. They say death reveals true colors. Ours were bleeding greed. The executor spread the documents, his fingers unsteady. Leaning close to me, he murmured, "Get out while you can, before they tear this apart." My stomach lurched. "What?" But he only straightened, announcing, "We'll need to verify both." Sarah slammed her hand down. "Read them now." As the words unfolded, the first will dividing assets evenly, the second shifting more to me for the care I'd given Mom in her final years, tension coiled like a spring. I remembered her bedside whispers. Weeks before she slipped away, "They'll try to bury you, Emily. But I've buried something for you instead." Sitting there, diminished but defiant, I realized this wasn't just about money. It was about worth, about the invisible labor I'd poured into her life while they chased their own. Silence became my armor. I'd let their storm rage, gathering strength in the eye. The gathering morphed into a makeshift tribunal, my siblings orchestrating it with feigned fairness. Sarah steered the conversation, her voice authoritative. "We'll discuss as a family, adults only. Emily, you observe. At 32, I was no child. But in this house, birth order was law." Ben chuckled. "Yeah, kiddo. We've got this." Daria sighed dramatically. "This is tearing me up inside." They pulled chairs around the table, mine conspicuously pushed to the periphery, angled like I was an audience member, not kin. I swallowed the humiliation. Mom's words echoing. Dignity isn't given, it's held. The discussion barreled on without me, interruptions met with dismissals. My input waved away like smoke. Sarah doled out platitudes about equity, but her eyes gleamed with calculation. Ben joked about my free ride, ignoring the nights I'd sat vigil at Mom's hospital bed. Daria's tears pulled focus, siphoning sympathy. Bitterness rose, but I pressed it down, observing their performance. When Daria rose for refreshments, hope flickered, a truce in liquid form. She returned with a tray, steaming mugs of cider for Sarah and Ben, aromatic and inviting. For me, a plain cup of lukewarm water. No steam, no spice. "Oops," she said flatly. No effort to amend. Sarah's smirk flickered. The room pressed on. I stared at the cup, symbol of my erasure. "You don't deserve warmth. You don't matter." But I didn't sip. I let it sit, a testament to their pettiness. Families crumble not in explosions, but erosions. Chairs nudged, cups half-filled, voices silenced. I'd been the caregiver, the constant, yet invisible. This fight transcended inheritance. It was for acknowledgement. As they droned, I shifted inwardly. Patience wasn't weakness, it was strategy. They'd thrive on my outburst. I'd deny them that. The meeting dissolved in smug consensus. They'd contest the second will. Sarah beamed at the executor, hand possessive on the papers. I rose, untouched cup glaring. They saw defeat. I saw their fear. Whatever brewed, I'd weather it. Weakness, after all, masks the sharpest blades. The kitchen offered sanctuary, its counters still dusted with flour from Mom's last baking attempt, a ghost of normalcy amid the chaos. I slipped in, door clicking shut behind me, the air cooler, laced with cinnamon and faded memories. Leaning against the sink, I exhaled, the weight of the empty cup still heavy in my mind. Silence wasn't surrender, it was space to breathe, to remember. Mom had taught me that hold steady when the world spins. The contrast hit hard. Out there, my siblings dissected her legacy like vultures. In here, her essence lingered untouched. I closed my eyes, letting a memory surface. It was a rainy afternoon, months before her diagnosis worsened. She'd pulled me close in this very room, her voice a fragile thread. "I see how they treat you, Emily. But I see you." Her hand, bony but warm, squeezed mine. "I've made sure you're protected." I'd brushed it off as comfort. But now, with two wills unearthed, it resonated like prophecy. She'd foreseen this fracture, arming me from afar. My gaze wandered to the pantry shelf, where Mom kept her linens folded precisely. Amid the stack, a pop of color caught my eye, a tea towel, embroidered with my name in her careful stitches. I unfolded it, tracing the threads. No other bore names. This was singular, deliberate. Tears pricked as I pressed it to my cheek, inhaling faint soap. Love hides in quiet corners, not fanfare. This wasn't coincidence. It was affirmation. I'd been seen, valued, in ways they never would. Strength surged, transforming hurt into resolve. The towel wasn't fabric, it was fortitude. Laughter pierced from the living room, harsh, triumphant. I clutched the cloth tighter. They celebrated prematurely. I held proof of her favor. Re-entering the fray, the atmosphere had thickened, wine glasses clinking in mock celebration. Sarah held court, glass raised. To family unity, we'll sort this properly. Her eyes dared me to challenge. Ben poured freely. Daria nursed hers with feigned delicacy. The executor fidgeted, glancing my way. I tucked the towel into my pocket. Hidden armor. Sarah's phone buzzed on the table, screen lighting up. I angled subtly, catching the text from her real estate contact. House listing prepped. Sign off tomorrow. Proceeds split 3 ways. My blood iced. Unity? She was carving up Mom's home while preaching harmony. Hypocrisy burned bright. I said nothing, letting it sear into memory. Her words flowed on. Oblivious, Mom's spirit lives in us together. Internally, I retorted, and dies in your greed. The evening swelled with arrivals, extended family, old friends from Mom's bridge club, even the pastor from her church. Chairs scraped into rows. The room, a makeshift courtroom. Sarah positioned herself front and center. Voice honeyed. We're here for closure. For Mom. I sat quietly, towel's weight grounding me. Whispers circulated. 2 wills. That's messy. The executor cleared his throat, but Sarah interjected, steering. Tension built. My silence a gathering storm. As debates heated, I felt the shift, eyes turning to me, curious, then sympathetic. Sarah's control slipped fractionally, then muttered support. Daria wept on cue. But the crowd sensed the undercurrent. In America, family disputes play out in living rooms. Not just courts, reputations forged or fractured in community gaze. I waited, patience coiling. A cousin leaned in. Emily took care of her the most. Doesn't that count? Murmurs agreed. Sarah's facade cracked, voice rising. She's exaggerating her role, but doubt seated. I rose then, voice steady. Mom's wishes aren't up for vote. The room hushed. Pulling the towel, I held it up. She made this for me, proof she saw my efforts. Trivial? Perhaps. But in that moment, it symbolized more, her quiet endorsement. Gasps rippled. Sarah scoffed. A rag? Pathetic. Yet the pastor nodded. Small things reveal big hearts. The revelation landed softly at first, then amplified. Whispers turned to questions. Why exclude Emily? Then shifted uncomfortably. Daria's tears faltered. I'd pierced their narrative without a shout. Silence, laced with evidence, spoke volumes. As the gathering dispersed, unease lingered. Sarah's eyes burned into me, defeat dawning. I pocketed the towel. Stronger. The fight escalated. I'd meet it head-on. Nights blurred in that house. Sleep elusive amid creaking floors and shadowed thoughts. I wandered to Mom's study. Drawn by instinct. Dust motes danced in moonlight as I rifled drawers. Seeking something. Beneath old letters. My fingers brushed leather, a diary. Pages yellowed. Heart racing. I opened it. Her script-filled lines, chronicling joys,
pains.
then, a entry dated pre-death. Emily deserves it all. She's been my rock. If they contest, this stands as testament. Tears flowed. Validation crashed over me. Not paranoia, preparation. She'd armed me against their siege. Clutching the diary. Resolve hardened. In U.S.
law,
holographic wills hold weight if authenticated. This could tip scales. Whispering thanks. I hid it. Dawn broke. Confrontation loomed. The morning sun cast long shadows across the dining room, turning the oak table into a battlefield scarred by yesterday's skirmishes. Relatives trickled back, faces etched with curiosity and fatigue, filling seats like jurors in a small-town trial. The pastor settled in the front, Bible in lap, neighbors clustered by windows, murmuring. Sarah commanded attention, posture rigid. Legality trumps emotion, she declared, voice laced with authority. One outburst doesn't rewrite facts. Ben nodded vigorously. Daria sniffled predictably. The executor adjusted papers, eyes weary. I entered quietly, diary concealed in my bag. Its weight a secret anchor. Power whispers when noise fails. I'd let theirs exhaust first. Sarah launched her offensive, painting me as manipulator. Emily preyed on Mom's vulnerability, twisting her for gain. Accusations flew. Exaggeration. Desperation. Ben piled on. Always the victim card. Daria, this divides us. Their words hung. But the audience shifted, doubt creasing brows. Aunt whispered, I saw Emily at every chemo session. Murmurs grew. Sarah's pitch heightened. Frantic. She's lying for pity, the executor interjected mildly. But I remained still. Let villains monologue. They unravel themselves. Finally, I stood, placing the diary center table with deliberate calm. This is Mom's voice, undeniable. Opening to the page. I read, Emily's my rock. This stands as testament. Silence descended.
thick and electric.
Sarah blanched. Forged nonsense. But the executor examined, nodding. Handwriting matches authentic. Gasps erupted. Judgment shifted. Neighbors shook heads. Shameful. Contesting a mother's wish. The pastor murmured scripture on truth. Sarah's control shattered. Voice cracking. This proves nothing. Yet it did everything. Humiliation washed over her publicly. Scars deeper than private defeat. I didn't gloat. Justice self-inflicted. The room's energy turned.
Supporting me.
Ben muttered retreats. Daria's sobs rang hollow. Truth stood unassailable. As dispersal began, whispers condemned them. I gathered the diary. Lighter now. Victory bittersweet, grief lingered. But freedom beckoned. Afternoon light filtered through blinds. The house quieter post-storm. I retreated to Mom's bedroom. Air still scented with her perfume, lilac and vanilla. Sitting on her quilt. Diary open. I scanned final pages. A note addressed me. If you're alone in this, know you're not powerless. You're stronger than their shadows. Tears came. Cathartic. Words from grave waited like embraces, affirming my grace under fire. Reflecting. Family bonds can chain or liberate. They'd chosen dominion, Mom.
Love.
Illusion of unity shattered. But no regret. Survival meant selective inheritance, resilience over relics. Packing ensued, essentials only, towel and diary atop. Freedom arrives unasked. I claimed it. Evening brought final confrontation. Sarah cornered me in the hall, eyes blazing. Think you've won? Courts will see through this. I met her gaze evenly. Mom already did. Ben loomed behind, Daria hovering. Their unity cracked visibly. I shouldered my bag. Revenge isn't theft, it's departure while you suffocate on greed. Stepping out, cool air enveloped me. Stars emerged, vast and indifferent. They'd sought assets. I'd found truth, priceless legacy. Twilight draped the porch in soft grays. The Pennsylvania hills rolling into dusk like a fading memory. I lingered there, bag at my feet. The house behind me a vessel of echoes. Laughter turned sour. Bonds frayed beyond repair. Relatives had departed earlier, leaving judgmental silences in their wake. The executor packed his satchel, nodding respectfully. This journal strengthens your case. Law favors intent. Sarah's protests echoed faintly inside, but momentum had shifted. Community court had ruled. Formal ones would follow. I breathed deeply, the weight lifting fractionally. Battles and not in triumph's blaze, but quiet exhalations.
Inside.
Voices rose, Sarah rallying remnants. We'll appeal. Fight this farce. Ben grumbled agreement. Daria whimpered. Their desperation palpable. A mirror to my former silence. I re-entered. Composure intact. Mom's words stand. Twisting them dishonors her. Sarah whirled. Face contorted. You manipulated everything. Accusations flew anew. But hollow now. I placed the diary down once more. Read it yourselves. Truth needs no defense. The pastor, lingering, interceded. Like grace guide. Murmurs assented. Sarah's isolation grew. Her authority eroded. Public unraveling complete. She deflated, silent at last. Victory whispered. I claimed it without fanfare. As night deepened, I wandered gardens Mom tended, wilted roses a metaphor for our family. Petals crumbled underfoot, fragile as illusions. Grief surged, not for loss, but revelation. Blood doesn't guarantee belonging. In her greenhouse, amid potted herbs, a hidden envelope caught my eye, tucked in soil. Mom's script. For Emily. Extra key to safe deposit. Yours alone.
Inside.
Details of account. Modest but mine. Final gift. Independence. Tears mingled with soil. She'd foreseen all. Empowered, I returned indoors. Sarah's eyes met mine.
Defeated.
No words needed. Understanding passed. Dawn's light pierced curtains, illuminating dust-speckled air. Final gathering assembled, fewer now. Air charged with resolution. Sarah attempted composure. Processes continue, she intoned. But weariness showed. The executor announced. With journal, second will prevails. Confirmation landed. Protests fizzled. I spoke softly. This isn't victory, it's honoring her. Nods rippled. Sarah's mask slipped fully. Vulnerability flashing. Perhaps regret. Too late. Packing complete. I surveyed rooms, memories bittersweet. Leaving wasn't escape, it was evolution. The driveway gravel crunched under my tires as I pulled away. The house shrinking in the rearview like a chapter closing. Pennsylvania's winding roads unfurled ahead. Mist rising from fields. A new beginning veiled in fog. Mom's note echoed. Alone isn't powerless. For the first time, it rang true. Siblings' greed had forged my strength. Their attempts to diminish had illuminated my worth. Freedom tasted crisp, unburdened by their shadows. Reflecting miles later, families aren't always havens, sometimes crucibles testing resilience. They'd chased illusions of control. I'd embraced truth's quiet power. No hatred lingered, only pity for their entrapment. Stopping at a diner. Coffee steaming. I opened the diary anew. Her words wrapped like arms. Live fully. Emily, beyond their limits. I would. Inheritance transcended dollars, self-respect. Unshakable. Months blurred, courts affirmed the will. Assets divided per mom's intent, mine substantial. Theirs diminished by contests. Sarah's calls came. Conciliatory, I declined.
Healing meant distance.
Years on, I built life anew. Home in the hills. Garden blooming. Visits to her grave brought peace. Thanks, Mom, for seeing me. The story lingers. What defines family?
Blood.
Or choices? In betrayal's wake, truth endures. Questioning our bonds. Silence, after all, can roar.